Lump sum tax countries operate under a simple principle. You get access to move to and live in some of the most sophisticated countries and territories in the world, all for one predictable, fixed amount of annual tax. They're not zero tax, but for wealthy people, they can be low tax. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 of the best lump sum tax programs. I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you'd like to learn how Nomad Capitalist helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best by reducing their taxes and going offshore, learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Now, let's talk about lump sum tax. Okay? This could also be called a flat tax, but it's basically where you sometimes negotiate or sometimes it's just predetermined. Here's how much tax you as a foreigner can pay if you want to move to that country. And how this works is, on one hand, countries say, listen, we don't want to be a zero tax country like Monaco or the UAE or Vanuatu. We'd like to be able to tax people who have jobs here, people who are doing local investments here. We don't want to become a total tax haven. So we have taxes. But on the other hand, if you are a wealthy foreigner and you can come and buy nice real estate and dine out at our expensive restaurants and create jobs just through your being here, then we'd like to come here. And we realize you're not going to want to pay 37% tax. You wouldn't move here. So we'll give you one low fixed rate. On the other hand, for the high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals who are moving, you may be looking at some of the tax-free countries out there and say, you know what, I don't want to live in Dubai. Monaco, too small for me. Vanuatu, St. Kitts and Nevis, too remote. We talk about territorial tax countries where you can theoretically live tax-free. Many of them are in warm climates. Many of them are in emerging countries like Panama or Malaysia, Thailand, for example. So maybe you don't want that. So really the nice balance is if you're looking for a country that is more developed, in some cases has an air of sophistication, those are the kinds of countries and territories that often allow this lump sum taxation. Okay, you're getting a broader number of countries that you can choose from beyond just the traditional tax-free countries, which don't appeal to everyone. And in return, if you are wealthy enough, you'll pay a relatively small share of your income. So let's go through a couple of the countries. We've got a link in the description to an article that I wrote about this that goes more in depth, but we'll cover the basic points here. Switzerland is the most commonly discussed country that has a lump sum tax program. It has evolved over the years, but I remember reading about this when I was a teenager, way back in the 1990s. Basically what you do is you go and you choose which Swiss canton or state you want to live in. There are a few in the north, such as Zurich, which don't allow this, so you can't go there. But you can go to most parts of Switzerland, and you can basically, in a way, negotiate how much tax you want to pay. Now, the federal standard, the benchmark, is 400,000 Swiss francs per year. Basically, it's a calculation of all the money that you would spend living based on your rent and all that kind of stuff. If you rented, you don't have to rent. And they put a multiple on that, and they come up with a number. So 400,000 francs is often the lowest you can pay, but some cantons will negotiate with you. So there's certainly some discussion that can be had here. You're not allowed to work in Switzerland. You are allowed to manage your private wealth, but it does come with some restrictions. And so you want to be making a significant amount of money every year outside of Switzerland to qualify, because obviously 400,000 francs is not chump change. Where can you go elsewhere in Europe that is cheaper? Well, Italy came up with a program and said, we'll set one fixed price for everyone that's much lower than that in Switzerland. So Italy has a new flat tax program where it's 100,000 euros, and you can do that for up to 15 years. So as long as you haven't been living in Italy previously, you can come and take advantage of this lump sum program. Now, again, similar to Switzerland, but a little bit different. There are rules that you need to follow. You want to make sure that if you have companies in other countries that you're not going to have those sucked into the tax net. There are blacklists and things like that that you want to make sure you're aware of and that you avoid. But all things being equal, you can pay a flat 100,000 euros a year. And that covers all of your foreign source income. Now, that doesn't mean that you may not owe income tax in other countries. If you own rental property in the United States, for example, that might be taxed, and then things like tax treaties and all that come into place. It becomes something where you really need to work things out. But the headline rate is 100,000 euro flat tax. Here's the other interesting thing about Italy is I would almost never send someone to live in Italy on a full-time basis because of the taxes. The federal rate alone tops out at 43% just for a very nominal salary. And then there are other taxes on top of that. But if you're paying the flat tax, you can live there as long as you want and know that your taxes are restricted to that one low number. And so if you want to live in Italy long enough to become a citizen, you can get a great quality European passport in a way that you couldn't without the benefit of that lump sum tax. So same with Switzerland, that takes a lot longer, but that's a pretty cool little side benefit if you've wanted a European passport. There are other countries that do this as well. Elsewhere in Europe, the British Crown territory of Jersey has a program. It's not quite technically a lump sum tax in that above the lump sum you can still pay 1% tax on all of your worldwide income, but basically you pay 145,000 British pounds per year, which is based on a 20% tax rate that everyone pays. So about 725,000 pounds of income, you pay the 145. Above that, you pay 1%. However, if you want to move your company to Jersey, there are incentives to do that and theoretically pay zero tax on your company. So depending on where your wealth is coming from, you can limit it to basically that 145,000 pounds. Jersey, obviously different quality of life, small island in the Channel Islands. It's British, it's exclusive, it's English speaking, so interesting alternative to Switzerland. Also, the British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar at a lower price point, anywhere from 22,000 pounds up to about 27,000 pounds in change. And again, it's not quite set in stone for everyone, but there are ways you can keep your tax to about that amount of money living in Gibraltar, obviously at the southern tip of Spain. Gibraltar requires you to rent or buy an apartment, same as most of these programs. You don't really even have to spend that much time in Gibraltar, but you can pay this lump sum amount of tax. Okay, and so there are actually some people who, depending on if you're doing trading, investing, you may be even able to pay less because there's actually two different programs in Gibraltar. The fifth lump sum tax country actually isn't a country at all. It is, like Gibraltar, a British Overseas Territory, this time in the Caribbean, and it is Anguilla. Now, Anguilla blends a lot of the good things about the Caribbean with a great tax policy, but also that great livability that comes from being a British Overseas Territory. You've got a lot of citizenship by investment program countries in the Caribbean, the sovereign islands like St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua, which themselves are basically tax-free, sometimes with some caveats. But the complaint I hear from folks is, well, yeah, but they're not really as livable as I would like. And so if you're not ready to commit to the requirements of the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas, Anguilla offers an interesting permanent residence plus tax residence program whereby if you buy real estate worth a couple $100,000, you can either live in Anguilla full time, and after 6 months you get to take advantage of their tax policy and theoretically could pay nothing, or you can pay a flat lump sum tax of $75,000 a year, buy some real estate on the island, and make that your only tax obligation, while only spending 45 days a year in the country. As long as you don't spend more than 6 months in any one other country, if you're traveling between multiple homes, as I do, and you ask the question, well, if I'm traveling between all my homes and I'm only in one place for 2 or 3 months at a time, where do I pay tax? Well, Anguilla could be the answer. So this is one where you could live there. It is livable. It is Caribbean. It's got that nice vibe, Caribbean meets British Overseas Territory. But there's also some great tax advantages. And so if you're willing to pay that annual flat tax, you can get a lot of flexibility to spend part of your time there, but also be able to spend time in other jurisdictions as long as you don't run afoul of their tax rules. So those are 5 lump sum tax programs. They all work a little bit differently. They all are really geared towards folks who are not running big active businesses. Again, they have different rules, but in general, they're not looking for you to be pounding the pavement locally. It's for people who have established businesses or investment interests that they run passively. And it gives you, again, a lot more flexibility, not only to live in places with a higher standard of living than other tax-favorable countries, but also, in many of these cases, actually work towards citizenship at some great countries, whether it's Switzerland, Italy, or even the UK. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book.
You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.